Everybody, welcome to my workshop here at Miller's Farm Shop. We were a little bit guilty of being over prepared then, so we were a little bit messing around with the camera angles and so on. But no, welcome back again. And today's going to be the first of the viewer's choice, and we're going to be doing a hummingbird, kindly suggested by Jessica, all the way over. Well, this one's going to end up anyway, all the way over in Minnesota, I think it was. We decided, wasn't it? Yeah. So that's where it's going to. So the first one's having a long journey all the way over to the US. So no, thank you for the suggestion, and keep them coming because we're going to be doing a few more every couple of weeks. We're going to do some, and just to update you on that. No, so last week we just finished part 2 of the hollow form, the U hollow form. We've had a few comments on that. It's good suggestion, good feedback, and so we always like to. I will be commenting, or I will be replying to everyone's comments, by the way. But a few people were saying, "Oh, it's a bit of a shame that we actually couldn't see the hollowing out." And the reason for not being able to do the hollowing out is because it's such a small opening on that hollow form that you wouldn't have seen anything. So what I've decided to do, that next week we're going to do an open hollow form, and we can look at exactly how all those hollow form tools work to get a better understanding of those. So I'll bring in that U part as well that we've done, just so we can refer to it. But we'll have that open so the camera can see it and we can see how the hollow form tools work. We're going to be using the woodcut pro form, and we're also going to be using some scraping hollowers as well, and showing you the difference between them, and the what they can do, the capabilities of them also. So think of your questions for that. Talking about questions, we've got Tom the Farmer on cameras and asking all your questions. So he's going to be doing all the camera trickery and switching and things like that. So he's there and ready. And today's about the, like I say, about the hummingbirds. So let's have a look at the little hummingbird. I've done a few of these in the week just to practice. It's always wise to have a little bit of a practice, but this is my version of the hummingbird. Let me go maybe on that camera down the line there, Tom. There we are. So a little hummingbird, just buzzing into a little flower, and then we put that onto a stem. So that's the one we're going to make today. However, I quite like bird forms, and we've done quite a few in the past. Well, I've done quite a few on the Woodworking Wisdom channel as well. So ducks in a row, and things like that, little oyster catchers. I've done another one in the week, which was this little woodpecker. Well, I'm really chuffed about this woodpecker. I've mounted him on a bit of birch, and he's got little copper legs there. I'm going to try that on camera 3 again, Tom. Don't know how good that will be. There we are. So a nice little woodpecker. So I mentioned next week we're going to be doing a hollow form, an open form hollow form. The week after that, we've had another bird idea. I want to do a kingfisher. I want to do a kingfisher entering the water. So I thought maybe doing a few ripples, having that darting sort of image going in, because the minute they hit the water, of course, their wings close. So perfect for us turners. So we're going to have a play with that one as well. So I'll be doing a few of those next week, ready for the second week. So all of those sorts of things are going to be happening, as well as lots of ideas that you're sending in. So let's get stuck in. How are we doing, Tom? Everybody in?
Yeah, lots of people in. Yes. Ward Wilson has a quick question here for us in the States. What is the definition of chuffed? Is that?
Oh, translation not going up. Chuffed, happy. Yeah. I'm trying to think. What's the American translation of chuffed? Buzzing, I guess. Stoked, happy. Yeah, all those sorts of things. Chuffed. Let's have some pictures up. Are you ready for some pictures, Tom? So I had lucky to have Jim B in yesterday, and his godson Josh. They were doing a few, or Jim was doing Taming of the Skew, or Window Scraper as he calls it. And I thought this picture was cool. It makes me look like a 12-year-old child, just due to the size of them. But that's outside the workshop. After we've done the skew, we just made a little oak bowl, Josh's first bowl. And Josh's first bit of turning since school, actually. But we had a great day there. That was a good bit of fun. But that photo just made me smirk. And then the hummingbirds. So I was lucky enough to visit Keith Gotchell last year. And we went up he's up in Salida in Colorado. And we went up into the mountains, and he took me to a place called San Elmo, a lovely little old mining village up in the mountains, mining town in the mountains. And there's hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of hummingbirds around. Now, as a Brit, we don't get to see hummingbirds that often, so I took so many videos and photos. I just thought I'd share one of these with you, and that's the lovely little green hummingbirds, but there were red ones as well. And like I say, for a Brit abroad, they're fascinating creatures. Well, I guess they are for everybody. But that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start with the body and the head. Then we're going to glue those together. Then we're going to do the flower, the copper stand, and the base. Okay. So there's a little bit to do, but this is a real fun bit of turning. And I've gone and taken it home this week. But when we do the Kingfisher one, I will show you. Lovely book, put together by the RSPCB. And it's got loads and loads of wonderful drawings of different birds, and that's where I'm getting the forms from for these. So looking at what nature does and trying to emulate it, as it were. So here we are, 2000 revs. This is a piece of timber called mahuhu. It's an African timber, and it's got a real green tinge to it. So it's really pretty to look at. So let's just skim it down to round first. This is going to be the body, this one. Up to 2000 revs. And what I've got on here, I've got a friction drive. So headstocks are friction drive, tailstocks are friction drive. There we are. I'm going to give you measurements in a minute, because if I'm honest with you, I haven't measured anything that we've done previously. And what I want to do is give you the actual finished measurement of this one. I'm just doing it by eye at the moment, so I can't give you anything. So let's go to a small bowl gouge. Small bowl gouge, this one. And I'm going to, first of all, round over the sort of shoulder. We'll have a little bit of waist. Spindle gouge or bowl gouge, whichever suits you. And I want to have a fairly flat tail, so nice curve to bring to join to the head in a moment. And then there we are. That's the rough shape. I think that's about the right size as well. Let me just come around there with a spindle gouge. So I want a fairly flat end. So in a minute, we're going to sand this flat, just to give the impression of that flat tail of the hummingbird. So that's why we're sort of stopping at that point. I'm also going to pop in there with a skew, or in the top end, just to take away as much of that timber as possible and give us somewhere to sand to. So turn the lathe off. Let's just take away our tool rest. We'll get the dust extraction in nice and close. I don't need to start really coarse. I mean, that's a fairly nice finish. It's down to the mahuhu, not me. Well, a little bit of me. But we're going to start at 180. How are we doing, Tom? All good at the moment?
Yeah, good. Just welcoming Wayne Hardy. It's the first time watching live, so it's good to see him, Wayne Hardy. So it's good.
Excellent.
And,
afternoon, Wayne.
Pete's asked, what brand was that SRG? It looked very shallow.
What brand was the
SRG?
SRG. Oh, spindle gouge. Spindle gouge. It was a Henry Taylor spindle gouge. The old dynamic logo there. Yeah, quite a nice one actually. All my spindle gouges are ground at 45 degrees bevel angle. Nice wide and shallow flute on this one as well. Really important.
And another question, Edward just asked, I have the wide version of your signature skew. I have just about got to grips working from the tail to the headstock. However, starting at the headstock, I have to change hands. What am I doing wrong?
You're not doing anything wrong. You're absolutely fine to change hands. A lot of people think that it's wrong to do so. You'll find that if it's comfortable for you, that's exactly the way you should be doing it. What I tend to do, if I don't change hands, all I do instead, when I'm as a right-hander, as I'm cutting from right to left, I can face the lathe no problem. The minute I cut from left to right, my feet have to change and they have to point down the lathe as opposed to facing it. That then brings the torso around to get your body out of the way of the handle. That's it. But no, if you prefer to change hands, no problem.
And it was the spindle roughing gouge.
Yeah, spindle roughing. Oh, spindle roughing gouge.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not. In that case, of course, I should have worked that one out. No, it's the standard. This one's a crown. Standard 45 degree, not overly shallow in the flute. You can just see that one there. So I would say fairly normal. I've got a few different makes that's similar to those. There we go. And then, so what we're down to now, this down to 600. A lot of these, what I call tropical timbers, they're much denser and they will require you to go down to a finer grit or grade. Let me just give it a little bit of a cut with my pull saw, because that's enough for that, actually. I'm not going to bother putting any finish on it. These will be spray lacquered, and I've got a little bit of sanding to do on these yet anyway. So we're going to leave it as is just for the minute now. Will that pop off? There we are. Now it pops off. That can be sanded in a second. Let's do the next thing. Let's do the head. So I'm going to pop that to one side. That's all that is. I'm going to pop that to one side. We're going to do a similar size, but this one I'm just going to rough down and then hold in a chuck to do the head, because I want to produce the little beak, and he's going to be quite narrow. So I'm going to hold it within a chuck and turn it off with the chuck and then part off. So just take the corners off, get down to an almost round.
Cool. Martin was just a little late starting with us. Can you just repeat what timber you're using again?
That's Mahuhu. I don't want to say that too quickly, too early in the morning. Mahuhu. M-U-H-U-H-U. No, don't get carried away. That'll do. All I want to do is just clean that up, tidy up the bottom here, and I'm just going to hold that in a chuck. In fact, what I might also do to save me keep taking chucks on and off and things, I might just prep the piece of yew up as well for the bass and the flute. So that's going to be our head in a moment. I'm just going to pop that to one side just briefly. And then we're going to take a piece of yew. This piece of yew is going to be for the flower and for the bass to hold everything tight. So we're just going to create a hold point for that, because I want to hold that in the chuck as well. So let's do that. I'm going to go slightly bigger in my drive center. And I'm going to put a rough center in. I'm going to follow the pith on this one. There we go. So we're going to be doing a few more videos tomorrow, because remember, next week's and the week after won't be live. I'm teaching. We've got courses here in the school, so we won't be able to do a live, unfortunately. So we're going to do some recordeds tomorrow after Tom does a little bit of sheep shearing. You've got 40 sheep to shear in the morning, Tom?
Well, yeah, all being well.
All being well.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be dry as well. Yeah.
So we're going to come in and do a day's filming, a couple of videos to do, and a few little shorts as well. Here we are. We're going to hold this in the O'Donnell jaw, so I'm going to do a little dovetail. There, that's all prepped and ready to go. So get that right out of our way. Okay, so let's add in the chuck, little ODs. Pop that in there. Really quite dense stuff, this Mahuhu. Let's have the tailstock up just to start with, because I'm not holding on the dovetail at the moment. I suppose we could. Let's bring it out a little bit. If it'll close down far enough, let's have a look. Yeah, look at that. It will actually. So, good grip. I'll still use the tailstock just for the minute. And take a little bit of that diameter away. So this is going to be for the head. So it has to be quite a lot smaller than the body. So we got a little 1/4 inch bowl gouge here that we're using to do this, just to start with. That can come away. Now I'm going to go with a little 3/8 spindle.
Question from Wayne Cole. He's just took some hawthorn down in February. How long would you leave it before turning?
Say that again.
Took some hawthorn down in February.
In February?
Yeah.
If it's depending on diameter, really. If it's sort of branch section, keep it long, stand it up. You'll probably be able to turn it within a year. If it's bigger than that, you really want to think about maybe rough turning or trimming it down in size a little bit. But once rough turn again, around about 8 months to a year should be enough. Most timbers will act in the same way once rough turned, or in small limbs. I get a lot of yew cuttings, so sort of 2 inch, 3 inch, and I'll stand those up in long lengths and leave them, like I say, for around about 6 to 8 months, and they're ready. They're dry then.
And Todd's asked, he's new to turning. Started with some carbide scrapers. Recently got a few traditional tools. He sees a lot of guys on YouTube with negative rate scrapers. Any thoughts on those?
Negative rate, yeah. So they soften the cut. Basically, I've just been using a negative rake. Actually, I'm doing a little Windsor chair at the moment, and so I just needed a particular cove being done. I had a little scraper forward, just put a negative rake on it. They're especially good if you're a long way from the tool rest. if you're on the bottom of a bowl or a little hollow pot, that sort of thing, they soften the cut. If you're doing epoxy resin or polyesters or acrylics, that sort of thing, again, it's a softer cut rather than the raking that you get from a regular scraper. And whether you get carbide or whether you get just a standard scraper that's negative rake, they're all available. You can get carbide negative rake tips, for instance, and I know Easywood do a good range of those, and they cut really beautifully. So if you're into resin as well, they're probably the best thing you're going to get for resin. They're cut really well without that horrible raking, like I say. So this is the sort of shape that I want for the head. We're going to sand a little flat on this in a minute. Now, I don't need to go to a point on the beak here. Okay, so you can see there, no point needed because this is actually going to go into the flower. So I'll measure it and get the right drill bit for this in a second. So we got a huge amount of things going on here at the workshops and the school. We've got pretty much every week something different happening. But I just wanted to let you know that at Christmas time in December, we've got a really special friend of mine coming over, and he's going to be doing a course here at the studio. So Nick Agar is going to be coming over from the US and doing one of his courses. So I've only got 3 places available for 2 days on that. So I register in your interest fairly quickly via email from my website, but I will be putting that course up within the next month. So stay tuned for that one. I'll let you know on here once that's up. We're just discussing themes at the moment, so we're going to work that one out between us. And we will be maybe doing a little bit of a collaboration on YouTube as well next month. So again, I'll fill you in on all those details. There we are. So that was a 320, so 400. I'll just go to a 600, then we'll get this off and sand it.
Guys ask, what abrasives do you find most efficient?
I'm using, so these are the Rhino ones. These are the ones from Simon Hope. I love these abrasives, probably more so because I can use my Velcro on the lathe and I just stick them to my lathe, so I don't have to fish around for scrap ends of abrasive all over the place. But I tend to use these all the time. They're a red abrasive. Simon Hope here in the UK do these. Rhino Red. Endurcer papers, I think. There we are. That's done.
And Mark's asked, he's managed to pick up some freshly cut laburnum between 4 and 10 inches in diameter, 1 meter in length. Does it dry easily, or is it prone to cracking?
It dries as easy as everything else. It's not, well, I say easy as everything else. It's not like eucalyptus, for instance. But keep it in 1 meter length. Stand it up rather than lie it down. The only reason that you do that, if you lie it down, water tends to sit and you get those grey tinges. If you stand it up, the sap will stay white for longer, you see. It'll dry within about 6 months to be ready to use. You will always lose the ends. So usually 3 to 6 inches of either end will go. That's why you keep it in longer lengths. But it's a far more efficient way of doing it. I would seal the ends as well. So either a PVA of some sort, plasticizer, that sort of thing. You can get specific end seals and that sort of stuff. But just good PVA does the job also. And then just wait. Try and cover it. So it's all right outside, but if you can cover it from the elements, sun and rain, that will make it much better when it's all finished. There we are. So that's the little head done. So we've got our body and head. We're going to glue those, sand those and glue them now. So all I need to do is move that out of the way. Let's get rid of our flower for the minute. Take that out. We're going to swap chucks. How are we doing, Tom? You all right for questions?
Oh, good, yeah. And Lucy just said that she plans to come in and visit you in the shop over the next couple of weeks. And also see the farm shop as well. So that's always good to see people.
Yeah, exactly. Lots going on up here at Miller's. Is always stuff. We had a classic car show a couple of weeks ago. We had a tractor rally the week before that. It's literally nothing stands still. I'm going to use that chuck briefly. I've got an array of chucks back here with different jaws. just for different things. I'm going to start off just by cleaning up with a really fine 600 grit, just those little tag ends, and then we're going to wrong chucky. Then we're going to sand flats and glue. I just want to do a little bit of gluing, and then we can start thinking about the flower. Okay.
Just on gluing, Colwin.
Yes.
Wilderness Woodworks is planning to inlay a cross-grain piece of timber into a lid of an end-grain box. Would you use a regular wood glue for this or something else?
I would probably go epoxy, if I'm honest with you. Any small jobs like that I'm that I'm really reliant on holding, I go epoxy glue. Just for me, that works a little bit more. I'm a little bit more confident with it. Bigger jobs, yep, I'll go straight to the tight bonds. But the smaller ones, just epoxy. And not only that, they'll dry a little bit quicker for you as well. The one I'm using here today is 5-minute drying time. So really, really quick. Yeah, that's good. Come back to that, Chuck, in a minute. All right, let's go. Good old sea jaws. My little SK 100. And these are regular sea jaws in the back, so they've got a little dovetail. Lay speed down because we're putting a much bigger disc on the back now. And we're going to, first of all, sand away the waste from the body. You always keep that moving, the project moving when you're on a sanding disc, otherwise you'll end up with a facet, which we obviously don't want. Now I'm going to roughly sand the tail. So I'm coming up quite flat on the underside. I'm working with the grain as well. And then a little bit of a dip on the top. Just to flatten, I don't know whether the camera can pick that up, but you can just see that's flattened. It's quite a coarse sanding at the moment, so we're going to go to our fine abrasive in a second. There we are, that's fine. So now next I need the head. So where is this going to lie? I want him darting or just hovering on. I don't want a hunchback. If I do that, I've got a hunchback. So I need to come in fairly straight. Let's put him about there. That's good. So this one's going there. Check often. There we are. So that's what we've got. I'm happy with that. Let me show the camera. So you've got a fairly streamlined hummingbird. Okay, I don't want him facing down in this case. If it was going to be my, oh, what's the words? Eh? No, not the kingfish. What's the other one that I've done? Woodpecker. If it's going to be a woodpecker, he'd be like this, you see, but he's not. He's going to be a hummingbird just in flight. So there we go. So let's think about gluing that one, and then we can get and do the base. And I just want to do a little bit of fine sanding on the tail first. There. So I'll go, first of all, 240 grit. You know, I'm just messing around changing chucks because they're all set up with different jaws. You just change your jaws in your chuck. You don't have to you go through the whole process like I am here. It's just a bit quicker for me to show you. So let's tidy this tail up. So 240 grit first. Because your bowl sand is soft, it'll blend in with a lot of these curves, you see. So you can really get a nice finish. 240 grit. Now we'll go to a 400. So we're jumping quite aggressively. And you can, at the moment, this produces quite hard lines. But if you want to, you could just soften those over. Just, again, don't stay in one place for too long. You don't want to create a facet. And then once you've done that, so that was 400, probably go to a 600 then. And just give it a little bit of a hand sanding. To do your final cleanup. There we are. So you've got your nice tail once joined together and lacquered, of course, then it'd be ready. So let's glue it and then move on to the base. So we're going to use epoxy resin glue. Just turn the extractor off for the minute. The glue I've got is a 5-minute epoxy, which is the Zapagap one, quite a cool one, 5 minutes. I think that comes in 5 and 30 minutes. So if you want a little bit extra time, you can. Now, have I got this on camera? Yes, I have. That's perfect. So, yes, please. Number 3. So 2-part. I don't need much at this stage because we're only gluing a small area. So hardener and the resin itself. The good thing with this, the epoxy glue, it's got quite a good tack at the very start of its drying. So you could stand there and just hold it, or do what we're going to do and just push it together and then just put it behind themselves so it can be drying whilst we're doing the other piece. Yeah, so just good amount. I don't worry if you get a little bit of splurge, as it were, coming out. That's absolutely fine. You could sand it in if you wanted to, but it actually looks okay once lacquered. So there we are. So a good firm push, and that will hold it there just while it's drying. So I'm just going to place it behind me, just maybe prop it, let it dry. There we are. I'm going to leave that for a minute. We're going to put a chuck on and turn the flour. There we are. So now we're moving over to 114, just a bigger chuck. Yeah. Because we can, let's have the tailstock working again. Tailstock in position. Might as well. Won't hurt. Just to do a little bit of the first cut. And then we'll move it away fairly quickly. So first cut is just removing some of the waste. There we are. And now we'll get the hint of the flower shape. Let's go a bit faster. Now, I learned fairly early on in making a couple of these not to go too thin with this. If you go too thin, it becomes quite brittle, especially this U. And I broke the first one literally just by tapping it with the tool rest. So not too thin. When I say not too thin, probably about 2 mil. Skim that surface. Get a good clean finish. Now I'm not going all the way because right in the very middle, let me get my one that I've done already. Right in the very middle, we've got the little statement where the hummingbird is going to be feeding from or taking the pollen from, and that's going to be drilled. So that's our hold point. So I'm not going to go all the way. We are actually going to skew that on the inside. I'm just going to clean that front area up first, so just a little bit away, and then we'll bring that flower shape around. Now, if you've got a detail gouge at this stage, that would be great. What I'm going to do is go to my skew in a moment. Let's get that shaped-ish. So we're going to go to a skew now. I'm going back to my old skew, which I got as an apprentice, which is a carbon steel skew. It's got a very acute angle here. So I would say it's probably about a 45 degree skew angle. I'm going to bring the tool rest a little bit higher. Now, to start with, I'm using that just as a scraper. Skews make wonderful negative rate scrapers. There we are. Then we can give this a nice little skew cut. All right, so planing cut like you would do normally with a skew. Just trim up. And at the bottom, and I just made a ding, so let's clean that up. There we are, that's got it. And then a little hole because we're going to drill. There we are. Now we've done that. I'll stop that so you can have a look. Now we've done that look. We've got a nice little finish there. We can start thinking about the back of this flower, and then we'll drill and sand. So back to a bowl gouge. Little 1/4 inch bowl gouge. You know when I'm concentrating because I stopped speaking, Tom. Nothing to say. There we are. That's nice. So we're going to bring that around in a minute. I'm just going to do a little bit of sanding while we've got some strength there. So dust extraction on. How are we doing for questions, Tom? All right?
Yeah, no more at the moment. So
Excellent.
we're all good.
I'm just going to have a slurp of coffee, everybody. Sorry. Perfect. Right, sanding. Again, I'm not going to go too coarse to start with. Let's start with 180. I think I mentioned, just grab, Tom, would you, in one of those leaflets out there, the bursary leaflets, I want to talk about that briefly. Wonderful. I should really put a link on this, and I will do this for next time. But as we're advertising this in the shop, but probably pop on the overhead cam. Let's see if I can get this out the right way, orientated right, and I'll try and get so the light so you can see. Bursary awards for this year. So, and unfortunately, guys, this only applies to the guys in the UK. But these are open now for you to apply. If you're thinking seriously about pursuing your turning career and you're making a living from wood turning, there is a bursary sponsored and funded by Worshipful Company of Turners, which I'm lucky enough to be a freeman of. And all you have to do is apply, put your case forward. So if you go to the Worshipful Company of Turners website, it's just been put out there by the RPT as well, the Registered Professional Turners. So have a look at that, back yourself, and put a case forward to get some free cash, basically. Here we are. So up the next grade. I'll speed this up a little bit. Tom, don't let me forget the drill, because I will.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've just put the website for the bursary on the chat as well.
Beautiful.
So that's good.
There we are. So that was 320, so 400. If you didn't hear what timber this is a piece of yew. Got a local yew to us here. There we are. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. Oh, pretty stuff. Pretty stuff. Again, I'm not going to put a finish on it because I'm going to put a spray lacquer on. What I tend to do with spray lacquers is put the first one on, let that be the denib. You could put a sanding sealer on it. That would really, really help. But I tend to put the first one on, then just lightly denib with the light sand, and then put a second one on as well. And you get really glossy finish. The one I'm using, the one I've used on these Hummingbirds, is the chestnut one. It's just one of my favorites. That one's the gloss version. And we need a drill bit. I wonder what size that Hummingbird head is going to be. Let's have a quick measure. So you could go to the lengths of actually measuring and cutting a specific size, but
Wayne's asked, if you've managed to have a go with the pole lathe yet.
Not yet, no. Both myself and Tom are going to hopefully go up and meet with a good friend of mine to do a little bit of pole lathe work. But then also he's going to come down and do some work on an electric lathe. So we're going to have a bit of a swapsy of skills and then compare notes. Here we are. So that works out to be, and I can't see it because I'm nearly blind, 4 mil. So we'll pop that in there. No, I'm desperate to have a go with the pole lathe. Some of my turning is influenced by the sort of things pole lathe turners make, and I love the sort of styles of handled bowls. And Kay a couple of weeks ago gave me a suggestion of making an oval bowl with cut out handles, and that's something that can be done if turned wet and then let to dry as the bowl goes oval, and then those handles be cut in. And I'm really keen to give that a go because I've seen the pictures that she sent me and they look awesome, straight from the pole lathes turners book, that one really. So let's have a look. That should slot in there. There we are. He's there already. That works. So we can part this one off, and we're going to part them off just as a nice little round, and then we do need to put a little hole in the back of that, and that's got to go into our copper wire. So a little spindle gouge. Take a little bit more off a minute. What I don't want to do is it to go up there. No, the extractor, that would be a problem. Okay, we have a hole to put here. That's one of the things we need to do in a second, but this is the base. So that's not waste. That's going to be the base where eventually our little hummingbird is going to sit. I don't mind a little bit of bark on this one. So what have we got? We've got a little bit of bark on there. So let's just bring that shape around. We're almost making a paperweight, I suppose. But a little dome. Turn that lathe speed up. Let's get a better finish. Parting tool, just we will part this off. There we go. A little bit of sanding. Let's have a look and see what that looks like before. Make sure there's no tears. No, we're all good. So we'll do another measure, I think. It's going to be a similar size. So there's my copper wire, just biting in reels. Buy whatever type of wire you want, really. But I find the copper one a nice one. Let's get my vernier again. Silence again, Tom. I'm concentrating. Everything goes quiet.
It might be a good time maybe to ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if they haven't actually, because we're doing at the moment, but we like to do better.
We're absolutely always striving for better. Thrive, not survive, Tom. A little bit smaller. Spot on. Right, so you can, if you want, you can drill that offset. You can use the lathe though. The lathe is there to be used. So drill chuck again. There we are. Good depth on that one, because that's going to be the base. And in a moment, we're going to do the same on this one, nice and safely, of course. So a good hole. So let's sand first, not part. So again, let's start slightly coarser on this one. So 120. Now, you doesn't like any heat at all, so just be a little bit careful when you're sanding. Don't get that paper in one place for too long. So 180. There we are. So we announced last week, and it's been on social media this week, that I'm really lucky, fortunate, and happy, chuffed to be Axminster Tools UK wood turning ambassador. That means I get to use all these lovely chucks still, and I'll be able to show you what the jaws do, the chucks can do, and all of the wood turning products. So we will be in the future, and we're working on it now, aren't we, Tom? Having an affiliate page where all the things that we make, we'll be able to show you links. You'll be able to go to that page and buy the same things that we're using, really. So things like these wonderful O'Donnell jaws, they'll all be linked on our pages. We just got to figure out how it works, haven't we? Really?
Sure, it can't be that hard, can it?
No, it's only computing, isn't it?
No.
There we are. Right, let's part that one off. Not down the dust extractor, so I'm going to grip that. There we are. Now, I would normally little sanding disc in the chuck and sand that off. I'm not going to bother you with that, as long as that's going to sit nice and flush, and it will in a minute when I just give that little nib a pinch. That'll sit down on the table. Now, the last thing we need to do in terms of preparation of our pieces is drill another little hole in the flour. So let's put a drill, let's put a jaw in that will hold that drill bit.
Callum's asked a question, Cole. He needs to turn some kitchen table legs one day. Got some 6-inch branches standing up for a few years. Have you ever made a table leg straight off from the log, or rather than from planed?
I haven't, but it shouldn't be a problem. I've turned lots of other things straight from the log. In terms of structurally, no problem. Probably stronger, to be quite honest. So you won't have a problem with that. And, you know, the grain is running with the piece rather than you've taken it from a piece of, where the grain's running angularly. So, you won't have a problem at all. You won't have a problem. Just check for usual things, splits, bumps, lumps, anything that could cause you issues. But no, you should be fine. There we are. Where's the little flour? So I'm keeping my fingers out the way. I don't want to be pushing against that and slip and hit that drill bit. So I'm taking my time. It's a nice sharp drill bit. Fingers out the way, not pushing onto it, as in with my hand. Don't want to slip. I'm going to get that one out of the way just whilst we do the final.
Brian's asked, what's the gauge of the wire you're using?
Should say on it, shouldn't it? If not, I can measure it. My poor old eyes. So that's 3 millimeters. So roughly an eighth. and nothing too high. Well, you probably realized by now nothing too accurate ever leaves the workshop, but all I'm going to do is just have a look at it, think what should be about the right length, pinch it off. I'm just going to flatten it a little bit before we bend it, if that makes any sense. I just want it, don't want it too random. I want it a fairly nice curve. So flatten it out. It's quite, fortunately, it's quite soft stuff. There we are. Then just, again, a piece of anything that's round, really. We're going to bend it around that just to keep it nice and just to give it a nice shape. I'm going to pop it in the base, probably number 2. Once we put it in the base and it's fitting down, then I can push it back. I can bend it back. All right, so it hooks up. I'll bring it into camera view in a minute. I just need to use hands. I can push on there. So we've got the flower formed. And then our freshly glued little bird can go in there. If I come back a little bit, you can see. Let's go to the main camera, Tom. Hopefully we'll get that image there. So there we are. So that was a live make on our little hummingbird. My next job for that would be get this spray, give it a good spray all over. Also, obviously glue the copper in, then give it a spray all over. But I love this little wobble that it gives, and it's moving around on this springy copper wire. So there we are. Jessica, that's going to make its way over to you, over the sea, to the US, and you'll have that hopefully within the next 10 days to 2 weeks as well.
I think Jessica might have asked a question. Are you worried about the balance and the flower and the bird tipping over?
If you are, then you can bend it back. We can't get that on camera, can we? Yeah. There we are. It's balancing. There we pop that on number 3, Tom. You can just see that balancing nicely. It's not, if I was, what I would do, so back to the main camera, Tom. If it was, we could manipulate this to have the center of balance over the base. You can maybe weight the base if you wanted to. But that's the reason why we put the wire on and then bent it back over. So their weight, the main bit, is right over that center point. And it stands there really, really well. All right. There we are. Any more questions, Tom, before we shoot off from this one? No, I've really enjoyed that one. And thank you, Jessica, for that. Like I said, we're going to get that over to you as soon as we can. If you do like what you see, yes, give us a thumbs up. The most important thing for us, though, is that you subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notifications button so when we go live, or when we do any video, you'll be notified. The next couple of weeks, we've got 2 recorded videos on, and then we'll see you again for another live after that. But next week we've got hollow forms, so remember we're going to do that open hollow form so you can see how to use the tools, and then we're doing a kingfisher, so another bird. So thank you ever so much for stopping by, and until next time, enjoy your turning, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.